My name is Kristina Hoeppner, and I'll be facilitating the session today. I work for Panelists IT, and they're in particular with the Mahara ePortfolio project. And we have a true international panel today. You only see the three of us here, but we already represent 2 continents and an island. And we have another island and another continent online here, who you can see on the webcams. So we have Beth Gordon from Pace University, Patsie from the University of New South Wales in Sydney, Australia. And online we have Roger Emery from Southampton Solent University in the UK, and Sibylle Würz from the FrauenComputerZentrum, so Women Computer Center in Berlin. And what we like to do is take you on a world tour through the use of ePortfolios in those 4 organizations and show you how ePortfolios are being used and always linked to employability purposes. So we'll start with the first year experience and end up in professional development. And so hopefully that'll give you a good insight of what is possible with ePortfolios. While all the examples while all presenters use Mahara at their organizations as ePortfolio, the learnings and the ideas and things they do actually with the ePortfolio are very easily transferable also to other systems or platforms that you might use. So you don't have to know anything about Mahara actually in order to comprehend the presentations. If you have any questions for our panelists, we will have a short Q&A at the end. If you, in the meantime, want to tweet things or comment on things, Roger over in the UK will be monitoring our Twitter stream, and we set up the hashtag #ABLE2015 panel so that it's easier for us to see whether the questions are for our panel, and then we can also take those questions. But now let's actually get started with Beth. Shortest way here to Boston. Beth is the Executive Director of Academic Technology at Pace University in New York. There are 3 campuses, and she moves between all 3 of them. The most well-known one, of course, is on the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. And Hora, we just lost. It seems to be rebooting, but I hope you still could see the world map and see where she's located. And if you want to tweet her directly, that is Klingner for the moment. And so let's just go over to start with her presentation. And we'll just do some presentation karaoke. So we have the slides, but you don't. And our IT technician is sorting out the problem.
Hello, everyone. That's all right. I could do without the slides. Thank you all for coming this morning early before the keynote. We appreciate it. I'm very pleased to be part of this international panel. I'm the local one. To give you a little bit of background about PACE, PACE is a comprehensive institution in the New York metro area, about 13,000 students, 6 academic schools, and our university-wide ePortfolio project is 5 years old at this point, so we're maturing. And our motto is Opportunitas, and we really strive to create thinking professionals. So working with ePortfolios for employability really speaks to us because it's what we're all about. Our students are coming to PACE, as probably coming to a lot of your institutions, with the mindset, or at least their parents have the mindset, they're coming there to get a job. So this is at their heart from day one, and through ePortfolio we're able to reinforce that and build on that right away, and I'm going to describe that shortly. I'll turn my slides and hopefully this will catch up. Let's see, let me check. Okay. What we started this past year has really made a big difference in our ePortfolio project. Before this past year, students were not required to use ePortfolios as first-year students. And that created a real hurdle for us in the ePortfolio project, because what was happening was we'd have a lot of faculty take to it, love it, use it in their course. Then the students would move on to the next course. They may or may not use it. And so it was hard to keep continuity. But beginning this year, we started a program called the PACE Path. And this program is designed to give all of our students a competitive edge by setting them on a course to not only pursue their academic work, but to also encourage them to pursue co-curricular work, advising, mentoring, and networking, again, from an early start. It's called the PACE Path, and it's been made, do you need me? It's made visible or real through their ePortfolio. So we've created a template in ePortfolio, which hopefully you'll see soon. And it shows students how they can highlight certain competencies that tie in not only to their coursework, but also to their co-curricular work. And the categories are managing oneself, interpersonal relations, and organizational awareness. And by tracking these competencies early on from their first semester at PACE, we feel like this helps our students to better understand the things that they need to develop in order to be successful, not only successful students at PACE, but also successful in their career search beyond PACE. So this was a huge win for us in ePortfolio land, because at this point all of our first year students are using ePortfolio, and even though beyond that they may encounter faculty and courses that don't require it, we're planting the seeds with this beginning, and students may choose to use ePortfolio for personal development, for creative work, for career work, for all of the above. Should I? It's okay? Okay. The next, well, what I wanted to show you, and hopefully what I will show you, is introduce you to a couple of our student samples, because I know from sitting in your seats, that's what I always like to see, is kind of what this looks like for our students. But I'll just kind of talk through this, and hopefully we can show you in a moment. Basically, our first year students are using this template, but then they're catching on to ePortfolio in new and exciting ways and creating much more dynamic content in their ePortfolios, often using video. We're seeing this as the big trend now, perhaps you are too, that our students are using their ePortfolio to show videos that they're creating, editing, producing for courses, for internships, and even just for themselves. And so I was going to introduce you to Adina McCrae, first year communication arts student, one of our contest winners. And it's just so exciting for me to be able to see that as a first year student, starting with this template for the PACE path, but then being able to launch in such creative directions from such an early stage, and already getting the language to prepare for the world of searching for jobs or internships beyond. Because that's the other piece, is that even if students don't use their ePortfolio during their interview process, by creating an ePortfolio, they build the language for discussing their strengths, their weaknesses, their goals, aspirations, etc. So we feel that as a career development tool, it's extremely powerful. And what happens is that word spreads. So one student creates a powerful ePortfolio and sort of sets the tone for the others. Okay, no problem. Hopefully we can come back to show you some of these samples. But the other thing I want to talk about briefly is how we've been harnessing ePortfolio and LinkedIn. Some of our students come to PACE knowing about LinkedIn and trying to figure out ways to use it, but as a first year student, may or may not have much to put in LinkedIn, and since LinkedIn is all about building connections, may not even have many of those yet. So what we've started to do is more workshops for students explaining ePortfolio and LinkedIn and how they can work together. Oh, great. And really getting them to kind of harness the power of both. So if LinkedIn is all about building connections, then ePortfolio is really about documenting evidence and reflection. And for students, using both together can be extremely powerful. And students really like this because they know about LinkedIn, but yet they feel they may not have a robust profile yet, but yet in ePortfolio they can document that they were president of a sorority, or they did a summer abroad experience, volunteer experience, etc. And they can really use the two together. And through Mahara you can create a LinkedIn icon. Maybe I can go back and show you. Let's see. Actually, you can look at, you can meet Amber Jones. This is one page from Amber Jones's ePortfolio, and you could see up at the top, it may be small, but you could see the little linked on icon. So Amber is a media and communication arts major, and she works as a producer editor for TV Land. And these video clips that are in her ePortfolio are clips that she actually wrote, produced, edited. And if you click on her LinkedIn button, you can see the connections that she's making, but these connections can link back and see the evidence that she's talking about. So it's not just a list of people she knows, but actual evidence of what she's accomplished. So together this is extremely powerful for our students and definitely gives them that competitive edge that may make all the difference in her job pursuits beyond PACE. And let's see, I can just quickly go back, I think. This is Adina, who I wanted to introduce you to before. This is one of our first year students. And she used this PACE path template when she started in the fall, which doesn't look too exciting in itself, but it's helping our students to understand the competencies that they're working towards. It's making visible what some of our better students knew all along, that you need to get active, you need to seek internships, you need to get connected with faculty and advisors. Our good students did that automatically, but we were finding, we have a lot of first-generation students, they didn't all know how to do this. So this is making it more concrete for them, making it a clear requirement, and then making it easier for a student like Adina to then go beyond that and create this very dynamic portfolio. She's a first-year student. She was one of our ePortfolio contest winners. And again, setting the bar for her and others to really document their strengths and do it in a very visual way through their ePortfolio. Okay. And finally, the other piece is that, even though I'm concentrating for this presentation on our first year experience, a key piece of our success for ePortfolio is that we didn't want access to end when they finished their 4 or 5 or longer years at PACE. So we worked together to ensure that we could give our alumni, our graduates, lifelong access to ePortfolio. And this has also been a key to our maturing ePortfolio initiative. So students at this point maintain access to their ePortfolio. It helps us because we maintain contact with them, but it helps our students because ePortfolios for employability is often most critical right when they graduate. That 6 months to a year out is when they're often searching for either graduate work, first jobs, second jobs, new opportunities, and this is the point where we really want them to have access to their ePortfolio to be able to show, as Adina and Amber did, show evidence of what they're capable of. They may not have a whole slew of professional experience behind them, but they have a lot of great academic and co-curricular work, perhaps internship work too, and it just doesn't come across as clearly through something like LinkedIn alone, but through ePortfolio, there's concrete evidence. And through the research we've done with employers in the area, we have found that employers are really looking for this. It can make the difference. It shows a technological proficiency, and it shows a certain savviness, again, that our better students knew all along, but we're trying to make it so that all of our students have this same opportunitas to show their best selves and do it in a powerful way through ePortfolio. And with that, I will turn it over to Patsie. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Beth. And now we'll go all the way down under to Patsie, who is normally living in the future because it is already tomorrow. But now she's traveled back to the past to let us know what the University of New South Wales is doing. And Patsie's an associate professor at the University of New South Wales in the medical and health sciences. And she does a lot of research that is cancer related. And if she's not enthusiastically talking about ePortfolios and working with her students on them in various forms, she's exploring virtual labs and experiments. So over to you, Patsie.
Thanks, Christina. So this is just a little bit of an image of our new research facility, and we've got a lot of students in there that are postgrads, but we have honours students as well. And we have teaching spaces. So as part of those teaching spaces, we try and enable students and teach them about research practice. So the University of New South Wales is what we call a group of 8 university in Australia, and it's very research intensive. So implementing strategies for undergraduates to try and understand how to do research, I thought was a good way to start the ePortfolio journey for our medical science students. So I thought I'd start by linking it back to the priorities for graduates at UNSW. And these are 4 that we try and focus on, and most importantly, I thought I'd look at the professionalisation of the medical science degree. And in doing so, we have to get skills and self-directed learning happening in our undergraduate students. The problem with medical science students and science students in general is that we're stuff collectors. So we love evidence and we love the answers, but more often than not, in research, there are no answers. We're searching for them, and we had to get students enabled and thinking about skills in research and how to practice their communication in the written and the oral format and get out there and start speaking like a professional in medical science. So what we did originally is implement a longitudinal approach through first year into fourth year honours. And this was fabulous in that we got transfer of skills along the way. So we got the transfer of the research communication skills in writing and speaking from especially second into third year, and then onwards third into fourth year, which will be my focus for the talk. But along the way, I realised that year three was the critical point at which students would crystallise all their skills development and use these research skills that they had learnt about in different contexts. And it came together actually by merging all the disciplines that they would have studied along the way. So a cross-disciplinary approach was used in third year to make sure that students understood the skills that they were learning were the same skills in each discipline, and they could transfer those across. So it was very powerful all of a sudden for them to understand that things they learnt in second year transferred into third and then across third year discipline. So the pinnacle of the transfer, I would call, is in a research internship. This is a pre-honours course. It's a course that I designed for the purpose of getting students enabled and ready into honours and then out into PhD programs and beyond. This research internship is based on work integrated learning, and students get the experience of working in a laboratory for the first time. They all think they're coming into the lab to play. The lab is not a playground. It's a very hard environment to learn techniques, but it's also hard because you have to work within the constraints of H&S and also be professional as part of a team. So going back a little bit, this is a third year ePortfolio from 2012 when we started, and you can see that Ronnie's looking at different means of reflection on different types of research labs that he's encountered in his third year pathology course. But he's starting to get an idea, if you look at point 3, of something that would interest him for honours. So for me, this was a spark and the starting point for telling me that we could transfer those skills across discipline. Now, since 2012, we used Mahara for 3 years in a pilot study, but being a university who's interested in testing all sorts of technology to feed into their strategic intent, we moved from Mahara into something a bit more open-ended, and that was WordPress. So the story about WordPress is interesting because all the pedagogy and thinking with Mahara turned into something that was more self-directed for students in WordPress. So I'm putting it out there that your students are very adaptable, they can do anything, and once you sort of give them a good foundation, they can go to places that you wouldn't expect. So WordPress is what we use now. I haven't got examples here, but I've got a talk tomorrow if you'd like to come, and that shows you how things work today. So I thought we'd use the student voice rather than me chatting about how our interns have ended up. They've used the thinking behind the ePortfolio practice and pedagogy to take them to places like postgraduate courses and actually into workplaces as well, which is very rare for medical science. And the driver for this whole project was to get students in a position where they can become employable and attractive for postgraduate courses, which are very competitive. So I'll just play you little snippets.
I think predominantly for reflective purposes, I mean, that was the main skill that I developed. You're able to sort of put on a page what you've done, you know, what you're planning to do, what you plan to get, and then if that doesn't work or if it works, you can reflect on that. So I think predominantly it's your ability to reflect on situations analytically, but also in a sense also it's developing your analytical writing in a less formal sense.
I definitely think last year we had to write a literature review for our research internship, and I had performed a couple in the past couple of years for other subjects, and so definitely going back over those with my supervisor and developing different goals towards what I wanted to talk about and how to approach the research paper really helped with my outcome for that, so that was good.
The way I used the ePortfolio was as a bit of a sort of evaluation of my thoughts and feelings about things. So I think it was a very good way of sort of summarising how I felt and allowing me to look at like the advantages and disadvantages and make decisions about what I would be doing this year.
Yes, it does. I'm currently doing my honours in lab research, and I've actually continued on from my research internship. So I use the same practices I was using last year and applying them to the same work that I'm doing this year.
Due to the ePortfolio, I'm taking a lot better notes this year, so that's always helpful for honours. And I guess there's a lot more evaluation of my work now, so it's not so much just launching straight ahead, but actually reflecting on the results I'm getting.
Definitely, when I did PATH 2201, I was given the opportunity to create my own research question and then use journal articles to back up the research question. And I found that process very intriguing. And from that time onwards, I realized that I'd like to have research incorporated into my career at some point. So yeah, it did help.
So just quickly to end off, we have realised that the portfolio is very important in terms of foundations for preparing students for graduate employability and programs beyond, and we use it as a reflective tool. We link it to assessment tasks, and this has had the effect of improving student capabilities. So I'd like to acknowledge the following people who were involved in the study, and I'll hand over to Kristina.
Thank you, Patsie. And we'll continue on our world tour and now go over to the UK, where we have Roger, whom you can see on the left webcam, giving a presentation to us, but we pre-recorded it just to be sure that the technology works. And Roger is Associate Professor at Southampton Solent University, so in the south of the UK, as you can see there. And he and his team have been working with ePortfolios for many, many years, and they are keen proponents of ePortfolios, work with it, and have gone through a number of changes. And today, Roger is talking with us to us with a student on how they use ePortfolios for employability and how the students also moved from her studies into the employment sector. And so that goes on really nicely from what we heard from Beth, first year experience, then going over to Patsie with graduate studies, and now we are kind of starting to get into the world of work.
Hi, I'm Roger Emery, Learning Technology Development Manager at Southampton Solent University. Southampton Solent University serves about 20,000 students, and we've been a university since 2005, but can trace our history all the way back to 1856 as a College of Art. We've been using Mahara ePortfolio since 2009 and have around 1,000 students using it for assessment purposes. The interview that now follows was conducted in April 2015 with a student who used Mahara ePortfolio to support her employability. Hello, I'm Roger Emery at Southampton Solent University, and I'm here today to talk to Olivia. So Olivia, can you tell me about yourself, please?
Yeah, hi, I'm Olivia Farrell. So I'm 21 and I studied public relations and communication here at Southampton Solent University.
And can you tell me what was your reason for using Mahara ePortfolio?
Yeah, so we had to use it for a university assignment. So we had a unit called employability and work placement skills. So we had to, create our online brand and create Mahara to showcase our personalities and just for future employers, really.
Can you take me through some of the pages that you've created?
Yeah, so one of my pages was called My Desired Industry. This was where I just explained why I wanted to work for the sector I want to go into. So that's entertainment PR. So this is where I just really expressed my passion for it, so that when future employers look at my Mahara, they can see that straight away. Another one was called Preparing for My Interview. That was just about an interview for one of my work placements I got in this summer, which was for House PR. And that included, some outfits that I could have worn to my interview, as well as some mock-up things I created. So I made a press release for them. And also one of their recent case studies was regarding Empire cinemas, and they made like a step-by-step guide to creating and having a really great cinema experience. So I basically recreated that and, made it my own and follow the theme of my Mahara, which is quite sketchy and like doodly, and then recreate it for them.
So you mentioned the design there, the doodles and the beautiful fonts. How did you create this design?
So all of my content is actually images. So all the font was downloaded, and it was really, for me, it was all about expressing myself and my personality. So the images were made myself, and it was just all about basically making what I feel is a bit like a sketchbook. So I want to make sure it looks like what I thought it would look like in hard copy, just online. And I feel like it really expresses, my kind of personality.
And so what did you like best about using the Mahara tool?
I think it was the best thing about using Mahara is that it allows you to kind of be free with your work, because obviously at university we do a lot of academic pieces, and it's just about really expressing yourself rather than, having a specific format or layout to a piece of work and having an essay and having to use, referencing. And it was just all about being free and having, being able to showcase your, your creativity and just being yourself on it and not having to follow anything.
What challenges did you have using Mahara?
I think Mahara as a whole was a challenge because we've never done anything like this before. The whole layout of it, it is tough to, come to terms with. But once you overcome that, you can really show off, your personality, and you can show off what it is that you want to do and your passion for your sector, which I think I showcase in mine.
And what have you learned from using Mahara?
I've learned loads actually from Mahara. First I learned was actually patience, because it does take a long time to actually get through it and, piece it how you want it to. But I've also learned a lot of technical skills and writing skills. So writing for work that isn't necessarily, persuasive communication and that kind of thing. It's more about writing for your future employer and, make sure and explaining why you want to work, where you want to work. So I think that I've learned quite a lot from this.
And you mentioned your placement. Do you think your work on Mahara helped you get the placement? Yeah,
100%. It allowed me to do things I've never done before. So like I said earlier, I created a mock-up press release for an actual company and a client who is, their actual client. So that enabled me to showcase things that I've never done before. So like, yes, I've written press releases, but for actual companies and actually sent them out and distributed them myself. I've never done that before. And also allowed me to, when I was at placement, I showed them a lot of it and they were asking questions like, how did you make it? What was it for? What was the theme of it? And it really allowed me to, just have something else. So instead of just having my CV, I said, here's a link, check out what I've already done. And so they can get a feel for how I write and just how creative I am, so they can understand me a bit more as well.
Fantastic. And what are your future plans now?
So, like I said, I want to work in entertainment PR. So I'm finishing university in May. So after that, I'm going to be applying for loads of jobs and using Mahara to also showcase my CV as well as covering letter. And also, I think maybe do some more internships just so I can get, find my feet a little bit more in PR and then hopefully get a job working for a music company.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for your time today, Olivia.
That's okay.
Since the interview was conducted, Olivia has gone on to become a peer mentor supporting second-year students to develop their ePortfolios. She used her own ePortfolio as the benchmark, and a level of expectation was set from there. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation. I'll be available at the end for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Roger. And now we are making our last stop in Germany with Sibylle Würz, and she works for the Women Computer Center Berlin, so for the FrauenComputerZentrum Berlin. And she actually wears a lot of different hats in every single project. And depending on what is needed at the center, she's sometimes a project manager, sometimes the instructional technologist, but overall an adult educator. And so now we are leaving the world of university and going over to the world of professional development and work, and hear from her how she is using the ePortfolio. And that'll also be a recording, and I'll advance her slides.
Hello, this is Sibylle Würz from Berlin. Probably Christina's just introduced me to you, therefore thank you, Christina. I work as an adult educator at the Women Computer Center Berlin, and there I'm responsible for the implementation of ePortfolios in some of our courses. Women Computer Center Berlin, which you can see on the left side of this slide, is a non-profit organization where we have been developing further education courses mainly for women for more than 30 years now. And now I'm very happy to present one of our courses to you where we use Mahara. This course is a further training on content and social media management. With this course we address mainly unemployed women, many of them with academic background. The goal of this course is to enable these women, many of them are humanities scholars, to find a job as a social media manager or as a content manager, which are quite demanded professions in Germany these days. Our content and social media management course stretches over 6 months. It is a full-time and blended learning course. During the first 5 months, our participants learn how to use social media tools, how to design and implement websites, how to launch a social media campaign, and they also deal with topics like the copyright law, self-data protection, project management, digital identity, and so on. And as we also want our participants to build up their personal online reputation, we guide them during that time while identifying their personal skill sets and articulating their professional goals, as we think it essential for building up a personal online presence to reflect very well on your personal skill sets and professional goals. As a learning management system, we use Moodle. There we offer our participants material to work on the different topics. There we provide them with communication tools, and they also find their tasks which help them to explore the topics I've just mentioned. As an ePortfolio system, we use Mahara. There, our participants collect artifacts like their skill sets, profiles, their professional goals, but also the concepts and implementation plans they create during the last 4 weeks of this. During these last 4 weeks, they work on a practice-based project where they can show what they've learned before. This means they plan and implement the web presence of a small company or simply a topic they are interested in, and they build up their own personal online presence. On Mahara, our participants also collect their weekly reflections. They use the learning journal to reflect on their individual learning process. This means we use Mahara for collection and reflection, and at the end of the course we also use Mahara as a presentation tool. During the last days of the course, our participants create portfolios where they present themselves as content and social media managers. They showcase how they designed and implemented websites and social media campaigns, and they present themselves with their skill set profiles, their curriculum vitae. And in these portfolios, you can also find links to the social media profiles of our participants, for example, to LinkedIn, to Twitter, to a blog. Some of our participants start blogging during the course, or whatever social media tools they use. There are no requirements concerning the layout of these portfolios. And now I'd like to show you 2 examples of these portfolios. In the first portfolio, a participant has created several pages to showcase the way she works as a content social media manager. She had created an application and a website to help people orientating in their neighborhood. And in her portfolio, you can see, besides the link to her website, for example, the start page and some details of another page of this website. She uploaded the concepts, and she documented as well the process she went through in creating this application and website. In the second portfolio, one of our participants presents herself with her skills profile and her goals. She publishes her curriculum vitae and showcases the presentation she did. She did on the social media campaign she worked on during the 4 weeks practice project. Creating these portfolios at the end of the course is very important for our participants. It helps them a lot of a lot being more self-confident, and it makes their learning more sustainable. Of course, we had to overcome several problems when implementing ePortfolios in our course system. And we've learned that accepting the use of ePortfolios is fostered by several criteria. For example, it is quite important how long a course lasts. So a course has at least to last 6 months, that our participants will accept working with an ePortfolio. Also, it is very important that there is an introduction into the use of an ePortfolio right at the beginning of a course, and that the women have reliable mentoring, which wasn't too easy in the beginning, as we didn't have trainers and coaches who were convinced of the benefits of the use of ePortfolios. A collection of good practice examples of good practice ePortfolios also helped our participants in creating their own portfolios. And last but not least, it was very important for our participants that they could be sure to use the ePortfolio also after they have finished their course at Women Computer Center Berlin. That's what I wanted to tell you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sibylle. And that concludes our world tour. We started in the United States with the first-year experience of students, and you've already seen a glimpse that Pace University does also go through the entire years at Pace and with ePortfolios, and then also gives alumni access. We continue to Australia, where ePortfolios are being used within the study programs in various different ways in the medical sciences at University in New South Wales. Continued on to the UK, where we learned the connection between creating a portfolio within the studies and then taking it for employment and kind of trying to get a job that way as well. Pace University also has great examples on that on their website. And then concluded with professional development and how ePortfolios can be used there. And now we still have a few minutes of time for questions, and feel free to ask Patsie and Beth and also Roger and Sibylle, who should still be there on the webcam, and we'll also give them the microphone. Can you please speak up a bit, because they might not hear so well otherwise? Can you please speak up a bit, because they might not hear otherwise?
The first question, I think maybe the slides were up at the time. You mentioned on the PACE tab that there was, I think, 3 core areas or attributes you were focused on. What were those again?
Oh yeah, sorry about that. They are managing oneself, interpersonal relations, and organizational awareness. These terms don't necessarily mean that much to our students when they start PACE. They're more interested in meeting each other and learning about food in New York City. But what the University 101 faculty do with them is get them to build a 4-year PACE plan and tie in goals that will meet each of these competencies. So really trying to make it very obvious to students what they need to do to be successful. It's much more than going to class and getting the best grades they can, but it's taking advantage of these other opportunities that will develop their soft skills, their leadership skills. From our research with employers, these are the differentiators. A student may have a transcript with all A's, but not look very attractive to an employer, and this was puzzling to us when we first started looking at this. But employers are looking for more than just the good grades. They're looking for students that will be able to communicate well, that they can send out and represent their organizations with confidence, that they can speak about the world, they're knowledgeable about current events, And so it's through these other skills that we're seeking to develop the PACE path and do it through ePortfolio because it's such a perfect match. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And then you mentioned that you've been doing this for 5 years, but not at first did you have so I'm just curious, because one of the biggest stumbling blocks we have, and we've only been doing it for about 1.5 years, is convincing students that this is worthwhile for their future and employability. When you began using it with first semester students, did you find if there was, this problem of making the connection, did you find that alleviated it or helped by getting them indoctrinated real early?
Yeah, we're just at the beginning of this, but it's my hope that, yes, it will be easier. In other words, before this past fall, it was kind of a volunteer thing with ePortfolio. And even though we've made good progress, we had some students coming to ePortfolio in their capstone experience, which is less than ideal. Then they're scrambling, trying to get access to Blackboard core shells and a couple of things to throw in there quickly to show in the quarter. Now, since the fall, all students are starting with it in the first year, and we're hoping it's going to be much more developmental in nature. Students will really be able to see their growth over time, as opposed to just scrambling to put together a showcase portfolio right at the end. And so it is my hope that this will make it much easier on our students and will result in much more powerful ePortfolios.
Thank you.
I may have missed this in the earlier stages, but did you say that for developing this with the PACE path, do you guys have a first-year transition seminar or something like that all first-year students are introduced to, and that's where you implement this?
Yes, I'm sorry. I think I left some things out when we had no slides. It kind of threw me off. But yes, it's tied to our freshman seminar. It's called University 101, and all of our first-year students are required to take it. Now, I'm still trying to think of a way we can get to our transfer students because they're kind of missing this. So that's still a population that is MIA. But for our traditional first-year students, they're coming into this course. It's basically an introduction to college. Probably a lot of you have courses like this. They get introduced to the Career Center and to our LMS and to advisors. But it's kind of, it's had mixed results depending on the faculty, to be quite honest. And I'm hoping that now with the inclusion of the PACE path, it kind of glues everything together a little more concretely and makes it clearer for students to do what they should do following University 101. And here we give them all the support as a first-year student, first semester, and then they're kind of on their own after that. And as you know, in the sophomore year, there are plenty of retention issues. And so we're hoping that through the PACE path, we can continue to support our students better and make it clear what they need to do to develop as learners and thinkers. Beyond just doing well in the courses. Obviously that's a given, but there's all these other things that we know make for a solid education. And again, we're trying to make that more obvious to every student. This is what you need to do.
So I guess as a follow-up to that question, do you find that do you follow up with the students throughout their university career to make sure that they're continually updating their ePortfolio and you do check-ins and stuff?
Yeah, well, this will be the goal. Again, it's just this PACE path just started in the fall of 2014.
Oh.
And so before that, we had ePortfolios, but again, it was here and there, people were using them. But now it will be the goal that advisors and mentors, even outside PACE people who are working with as mentors, graduates of PACE, bringing them into mentor and having them see these ePortfolios and having them help promote and help get students to keep adding to it. So yeah, that is the goal, that then the ePortfolio will be much more powerful and not just randomly used along the way by a scattered professor, much more the backbone of their PACE experience. This remains seeing how this all plays out, but of course, I'm an optimist and of course an ePortfolio lover, so I believe this will all come together, but we're just at the beginning of this. And certainly look to learn from all of you and some of our colleagues in the field who already have strong ePortfolio projects at the first year student level. There certainly are a lot of examples of that. And so we're looking to build on that, and we're just calling it the PACE path, but certainly there are other institutions who have done this successfully already.
And Ralph is actually also going to give a short answer for your question. Dr. go ahead.
Can you hear me? At Solent in the UK, our standard 3 programs, 3 years. And as the students, some 30 students are here, partners or mentors to second-year students, so they can pass their experience down to the students that are coming up through the system. We've also developed, and I think mine has developed a very comprehensive health site to take students through every single part of Mahara, everything they need to do, but also augmented that with help with staff that are developing assessments and so on. And that has examples in it from our students, so we get students like the one interviewed earlier, and we got our case studies that we use next year, and the next cohort of students coming through. So those are just along as well, we get better examples. And the student uses, the students' peer mentors use their work as the baseline expectation for next year's students.
I think we have time for one, maybe two more questions. George.
I'm just wondering if everyone has some, if people have feedback regarding the employer's perception of the portfolios. I can imagine, I mean, historically that people apply for a job will send the resume and a cover letter, and that's sort of the first, filtering method that an employer has. And then if they like the person, they may go to social media. I mean, you mentioned connecting to LinkedIn or other ways, but I'm wondering, for example, with the medical profession, whether people are open from the get-go to reviewing the students based on their ePortfolios.
We are the employers as well. So from our perspective, not all of the employers are medical scientists in the lab, but they can be out in industry. But from our perspective as potential employers of PhD students and postdoctoral scientists, we're starting to get the feeling that all we have to do is click on the link. So we're starting to do that ourselves and look at their profile, their electronic profile, because we want to see proficiency in that area. We want to see the dynamics behind that person. The person has to be a little bit more three-dimensional, probably in any space that we're looking at, which is electronic. On paper you get some impression, but we like to also see the person face-to-face. I think now that's going to get eliminated and replaced with electronic versions of that person in a digital identity somehow. Then again, they can fake it quite well. So I don't know if we can replace the face-to-face. So that's a good question. We do like to try before we buy. That's why we're doing the research internship and see how we go.
Sibylle or Roger, anything to add?
No.
Okay. One final question before everyone's heading off to the keynote. Yes, please.
I'm wondering, so one of the profiles was a woman who wanted to work in entertainment. Do you think there are certain industries that are very well suited to this kind of portfolio and others that need some more development?
That's a good question. I mean, I think all disciplines are right for ePortfolio, but certainly the ones I chose to show to you today were more video-oriented in media and communication arts. But we've had success in students in biology and math and business use ePortfolios as well. So I think it just may look different, and there may not be the video clips. But again, I think all of our students are turning more towards video. We're turning more towards video, and so as we become more multimedia oriented, I do think ePortfolio can be right for all disciplines.
Yeah, I'll just add a comment to that, Patsie. Our students in Canada are across the professions, and we're finding that increasing numbers of them are using their ePortfolios as a supplement to their CVs for job applications, and because their ePortfolios contain critical reflection and reflection on their learning and reflection on what went right and what went wrong and what they could have done differently, employers are really interested in seeing how they work in teams rather than just what they say, and how they work in groups rather than what they just say, and how they can readjust their approaches and their strategies given certain problems across the professions.
Thank you very much for that comment. And I think that concludes our session. We're running a little bit over due to our technical problems in the beginning. But if you want to continue the conversations, please see us throughout the days at AAEEBL or contact us via email or via Twitter. The slides will be up, are already up shortly, so we'll be tweeting out the link. And if the recording worked out, that'll be up sometime in August. And we look forward to hearing from all of you how you're using ePortfolios with your students for employability or on the path to employability or any other uses, so we can also learn from you. Have a good conference.
Thank you.